Hello there, Caroline or Miss B overseas, and in today's video, the idea is that I am going to be reading books with titles that are almost identical to those of my all-time favorite books. This video concept was born out of misunderstanding and scrolling Twitter. Let me elaborate. The other day I was doing what I do best, procrastinating and scrolling through the timeline. I cannot for the life of me find the original tweet, but someone asked or was asking for spooky book recommendations because right now, currently, it is October. I don't know what month you'll be seeing this in because I don't know how long this process is going to take, but right now it is October. So someone was asking, rightfully so, for spooky book recommendations, and someone replied with what I thought said Other Words for Home. Other Words for Home by Jasmine Warga is one of my favorite books of 2020, but it is about the farthest thing from a spooky book that you could get. What the person had actually recommended was Other Words for Smoke, and thus this video idea was born. The goal behind this video is just to be fun and dumb. Do I think that I will find more all-time favorites or favorites of the year because they have similar titles to my all-time favorites? No. Do I think that they will even be remotely similar in plot, character, setting, things like that because they have similar titles? No. If that happens, it'll be purely coincidence. Do I think that there will be some like grand discussion to be had about how authors choose to title their books based off of the content of their books? Possibly, but maybe someone more intelligent and put together could have that conversation. I don't know that I will be capable. I think that I am going to be choosing 4 books to conduct this experiment with, and the first one is definitely going to be, has to be, the inspiration for this video, Other Words for Smoke, which is the title sound alike to Other Words for Home by Jasmine Warga. As far as finding title sound alikes, I think what I'm going to start out with, and I thought that I would do it on camera so you could experience it as well, is that I'm just going to go to Goodreads and I'm going to type in the titles of my all-time favorites and see if the search results return similar titles. I don't always love Goodreads search algorithms, particularly for this, because I don't think a lot of people are searching for books that sound like their favorite titles, but we're just gonna see what happens with this. So the first book that I am going to try searching is Beartown by Friedrich Backman. This is my favorite of 2020, and I don't think that's going to change. It's also a new favorite of all time. Okay, so there's Beartown, then Us Against You, the sequel, which I read and loved, and then Those Who Run Towards Fire, which is the third in the series, which hasn't come out yet, but you can bet that I'm very much looking forward to it. There's The House on Beartown Road, a memoir of learning and forgetting. I'm gonna screenshot that for later. There's another one that's just called Beartown. It has 1 review and 3 ratings. It's sitting at a massive 2 stars. I don't know that I'm gonna be using that one. I think what I'm gonna try now is just searching town and seeing if I can get a blank town sound alike. Oh, Paper Towns. I didn't even think of that. I guess it's an option. Paper Towns by John Green. Oh, what's this? Our Town by Thornton Wilder. That's actually a really close sound alike because it's 2 syllables, Bear Town, our town, and then you have that in the middle, bear, our. I think that might be our sound alike. I'm not actually reading any of the synopsis because I don't want to be deterred. I'm just going to use it and experience it as they come. The next search that I am going to try is I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zusak. This is a favorite book of all time. We're gonna stick with Goodreads because Goodreads did give me 2 pretty viable options last time. So I'm just gonna search, I guess I'm just gonna try searching the whole title, I Am the Messenger first. Oh, there's one that's literally called I Am the Messenger. Oh, why does this keep happening? This is called I Am the Messenger, but it has 0 ratings and 0 reviews. I don't even know if I could find it and read it, and I don't know that that would be conducive to what I'm trying to do here. But I actually don't even know what I'm trying to do here, so maybe I shouldn't count it out. I think what I'm going to search is I am the, and see if I can get a 1 word off. I am the chosen king, not necessarily close enough to what I'm looking for. I Am number 4 came to mind, and I'm really looking for something that is I am the. A lot of these are like parts of series, and I don't necessarily want to do that to myself. Ooh, I Am the Clay. Wait a second. Marcus Zusak's most recent, I think, yeah, most recent publication is Bridge of Clay. And this one is I Am the Clay, which is 1 word off from I Am the Messenger. I think that may have to be my choice. It has to be, right? As far as the 4th book, it's a little bit up in the air. I'm gonna try Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. Okay, so just searching Children of Blood and Bone, it's a bunch of different editions and then like study guides. Maybe I just try Children of. Again, there's a bunch in series. I don't want to read series. What if I just try Blood and Bone? There's literally a book called Of Blood and Bone. That's 1 word difference, but it's the second in a series by Nora Roberts. Isn't she like a romance writer? Okay, there's one just called Blood and Bone. Oh my gosh. Hang on. This came up, Days of Blood and Starlight, which is the 2nd in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series by Laini Taylor. I feel like Daughter of Smoke and Bone is such a similar sound alike to Children of Blood and Bone. That might have to be it. That might end my search. In my head, that makes sense. Same amount of words, right? Children of Blood and Bone. 5, Daughter of Smoke and Bone. 5 has the word bone at the end. Children, daughter, right? If you're a daughter, you're someone's child. I found all of my books. And it only took 21 minutes of recording. As of right now, I don't know which one I'm starting with. It's going to take me, I imagine, a while to find e-copies or physical copies, or I'll even do audiobook copies of all of these books. I will see you at a later date once I have acquired one of these titles. Look what arrived. It's Our Town by Thornton Wilder. This is the title that I'm using as the sound alike for Bear Town by Frederick Backman. And I was actually surprised that I was even able to get a physical copy of this. I didn't know how well known or like readily available it would be. This isn't even a book, it's obviously a book. It's not a novel. This is a play. It's written in script format. Couldn't tell you a play that I've read on my own outside of like an academic or school setting, but we're doing it now. There's like a couple of plays in this collection. Our Town takes up this many pages. Not even, because some of this is like the introduction and the preface. So I'm gonna read this. I already said that I don't expect this to be anything like Beartown, to have any similarities whatsoever. I do think that looking at all of my favorites that I'm using for the purposes of this video, Beartown is, I don't want to say the most aptly titled, but it's the most like directly related to the story itself, because Beartown is just the name of the town that the book is set in. I'm assuming that this is set in a town and it's called Our Town. What am I trying to do here? I don't know. Beartown, reasons that I liked it, so many reasons, but for the writing, which I don't think I'll find in here, insular small town setting, which maybe I'll find in here, and then also the different perspectives that we got from all these characters in this town, which possibly we'll get from this. So the plan is to sit right there and read this in one sitting, and theoretically the next time I talk to you, it will be after I have read Our Town. Okay, so plot twist, I really enjoyed this. I just finished with it and it made me kind of emotional at the end, which isn't saying a whole lot. I wasn't anticipating liking this as much as I did. Now I don't know what to do. Like, what do you want to know? Do you want to know what it's about? Do you want to know how similar it is to Beartown? There were actually some things that did remind me of Beartown. So this takes place all in the same small town in New Hampshire, just like how Beartown takes place all in the same small town. Both of them are towns where it's not necessarily like important where they are like in the world. It's more so the people within the town that are the focus. Another similarity, and I forget if I said this before I started reading this, but one of my favorite things about Beartown is the writing, particularly when it comes to the narration style, because it's this very like omniscient, knowing narrator, and there are times in Beartown where it almost seems like the town itself is a character narrating the lives of the characters living within the town. And there was something kind of reminiscent in this. The biggest character in this is the stage manager, who narrates the entirety of the play itself. And sometimes the stage manager will be small side characters within the play. That character is like a very all-knowing narrator for a play, and it's also kind of one of those within without situations like the narrator in Beartown. Not exactly similar, but like reminiscent enough that I actually was reminded of it, and I enjoyed this play because of that unique narration. So it's not a new all-time favorite like Beartown is, but it is something that I enjoyed for similar reasons that I also enjoyed Beartown for. Did we learn anything else about titles? I mean, maybe. Town, I think, is a very key word. I think that if I were to pick up any other books with the word town in it, I might get similar aspects, particularly the small insular setting. So in this case, the sound-alike title gave me what I wanted in a book slash a play. Hi, it's been a few weeks, and honestly, I have almost scrapped it 3 or 4 times just because I've second-guessed the concept and the point of it at all. It's just so dumb, but we knew that going into this. So we are picking it back up again. Honestly, I'm in a bit of a slump right now and I'm desperately looking for a book to pull me out of it. So I'm placing all of my hopes and dreams on this book that I know seemingly nothing about, which is Other Words for Smoke by Sarah Marie Griffin, which I'm using as my sound-alike for Other Words for Home by Jasmine Warga, which has been one of my favorite books of 2020. It is a middle grade novel in verse. Reasons that I loved Other Words for Home was honestly, it's my favorite novel in verse I've ever read. Jasmine Warga did such an expert job at using the amount of words she had to develop these insanely beautiful characters and beautiful story. There are verses from Other Words for Home that cycle through my head on a loop. It's just this like pure, wonderful middle grade story about acceptance. That being said, do I think I am going to find any similarities in this spooky book? No, I honestly don't think I am. If there is one thing I am good at, it is the ability to make connections no matter how small or obscure or minute. I'll update you. I'll see you when I'm done with this. Okay, I'm done with Other Words for Smoke by Sarah Maria Griffin. I don't know why I'm holding up my iPad. I read it on my iPad. Here's a picture of the cover that's actually helpful. Other Words for Smoke by Sarah Maria Griffin was my sound-alike title for Other Words for Home, and I had to work out immediately after. That's why I look the way that I do, because the ending made me cry, and I wasn't expecting it to, but it did, and it's really not that surprising because I'm just a hyper emotional person. So I guess that's one thing that both books had in common. They had this writing that singular sentences made me cry. I am going to be thinking about the last sentence. I keep holding this up. I am going to be thinking about the last sentence of this book for, I feel like, years. Other than both books having writing that brought me to tears, there's basically no similarities at all. However, this book did make me think of another book, which was Sawkill Girls. Now, I don't think I'm in the minority of people who were super excited about Sawkill Girls and then were super let down. So if you are watching this and you are like me and also disappointed in Sawkill Girls, hi, let me introduce you to Other Words for Smoke. Both these kind of spooky island setting, witchy vibes, teens discovering themselves and dealing with the trauma that their parents have thrust on them. Even little things like moths were a big thing in Sawkill Girls, and they were also kind of a big thing in Other Words for Smoke. If you're looking for something that has those vibes but actually gets it right, I highly recommend this one. Back to the original point of this whole video, which is just foolishness, but it's to compare and see if titles that sound the same are actually the same at all. The answer with this in particular, matching or pairing, is no. Although I did promise you that I would be able to make a connection no matter how minute. Other Words for Home is my favorite novel in verse I've ever read. And typically I have not trouble enjoying novels in verse. I've just always found myself wanting more, and Other Words for Home is the exception to that. Other Words for Smoke is not written in verse, but it does have kind of a stylistic writing add-on feature. It has footnotes, and normally with footnotes I just have trouble seeing their purpose. Like, I don't really understand when they're included in fiction why they're included. Like, why couldn't this have just been written into the body of the story. The footnotes that were in this one really added to this creepy, atmospheric, bewitching, and also knowing tone. So Other Words for Home is written in verse, and even though I typically want more from novels in verse, I loved this one and it exceeded my expectations. Other Words for Smoke includes footnotes. Typically I don't gain things from footnotes, but I actually think that the author used footnotes really conscientiously. Is that a similarity? No, but we're going to pretend that it is because I worked really hard to come up with that connection. Does that small, tiny, very insignificant similarity have anything to do with what they're titled? No, it has everything to do with me as a reader. So I'm moving on to my next book. Still not sure what it is, but I'll see you when I do. I am now officially in possession of the final 2 books for this video. Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor from my school's library. So shout out to middle school librarians everywhere. And I downloaded I Am the Clay on my Kindle app. We're in the middle of the week and I Am the Clay is shorter than Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and I feel like if I make it a goal to finish I Am the Clay by the weekend and then use my weekend to get through this, then I'll be done with this and I can post it. So executive decision, we're reading I Am the Clay, which is my sound-alike title to I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zusak. I Am the Messenger, I guess, is what I would consider my all-time favorite book. I have read it at multiple points in my life and it has held up every single time. And not only has it held up, but I have gained something new from it every single time I have read it. Something that I really look for in books is like extreme, almost hyperbolic character development. I want every single ounce of it. I want characters to feel and live and learn lessons, but I don't like it when they're at the expense of other characters. I do like it when other characters help and are involved in that development, which that's basically the entirety of I Am the Messenger. Zusak always seems to do really cool things with narration, and you get this narration style that I really, really love, where it is omniscient but very knowing, and then the narrator kind of comes into the storyline. I also love books that can be left up to interpretation, and the ending of this is definitely ambiguous and up to interpretation. Will I find any of those things in I Am the Clay? I have no clue. I honestly don't know what it's about. Just from downloading it on my Kindle and reading like the first 2 sentences of the synopsis, it's a historical fiction. Even though the titles are only 1 word off, there's nothing indicating that they are going to have anything in common from these titles. I'm going to read this and then, as always, I will update you at the end. Hi, I'm done with I Am the Clay, and are we shocked? It was nothing like I Am the Messenger. Did we expect it to be? No. I Am the Messenger is like a dark, broody contemporary about a down on his luck cab driver whose life gets changed after he inadvertently saves a bunch of people from a bank robbery. I Am the Clay is a historical fiction about like these Korean refugees that are fleeing their village, and they find this young boy who they kind of take under their wings. They were nothing like each other in plot, nothing like each other in the writing, the characters, the conflicts, anything. They're about as different as you can get. In fact, they might be just opposites of one another. My feelings about them are certainly the opposite of one another. I Am the Messenger is my favorite book of all time. I Am the Clay may be my least favorite thing that I've read all year. I wanted to DNF it basically every single page. I didn't, mostly because it was so short and it was just like, by the time I was like, I should just DNF it, I was already halfway through, so it was like, well, I've made it this far, so let's just continue the pain and suffering. And now I'm angry because I hated the book and I'm forgetting why I even like reading to begin with. So I am once again placing all of my hopes and dreams in a book that I know nothing about. Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This is my final book for this video. This is my sound-alike title that I am using for Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. So as far as sound-alike titles go, I was thinking about this earlier. It's kind of a like known thing in the book community that YA fantasies have like a title formula that they follow, which is blank of blank and blank, or some variation of that. As far as how much I think I'll enjoy this one based on how similar the titles are to one another, I don't think that because it has the word bone in it, it's going to be any sort of signal that I will enjoy this one. However, one thing that I think may be an indicator, one of my favorite parts of Children of Blood and Bone, what makes it my favorite fantasy of all time, is the way that most of the characters are developed by some sort of revenge or vengeance that they want to seek. Whether it's on their parents for passing down this terrible trauma, or whether it's seeking vengeance for their people that have been oppressed by this oppressive kingdom regime. I really, really love a revenge plot in fantasy, which I think Children of maybe is kind of indicative of that. And so with Daughter of, I'm reaching, I know, but maybe we'll get some sort of vengeance plot or vengeance motivated main character. I'm a little bit nervous because with young adult fantasy, I usually either love it or I hate it. And coming off of a book that I hate, I am really, really hoping for a book that I love. Since this is the finale read of this video, I would really like to end on a high note. We shall see. I'll talk to you when I'm done with this. I'm on my bedroom floor right now. It's just where I am physically as well as mentally. So thank you so much for respecting where I'm at right now. I am here to update you that I have completed Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, and now I am supposed to tell you whether or not it had any similarities to Children of Blood and Bone. And I am sure you are unsurprised to hear that it did not. I think I said in my before reading clip for this that I was maybe anticipating some sort of vengeance motivated and developed characters, which is one of the big reasons that I enjoyed Children of Blood and Bone so much. And we did not get that in here really, although I could see where this book left off, maybe the second book in the series, the characters having much more vengeance motivated plot lines. Did I enjoy it as much as Children of Blood and Bone? No, but I am happy to report that I did enjoy this. I did like reading it. I read it super quickly, which feels good. Now I wanted to do some sort of like grand wrap up to this whole video, but I don't really know what to say to wrap the whole thing up, because as this video has progressed, I've realized more and more that I should have gone into this video with clearer intentions for what I was trying to do. Because if I was just trying to create and read a TBR of books that had similar titles to those of my all-time favorites, I did that. I accomplished that. But that's not the only thing that I did in this video. After I found the titles of the books, I kept filming, and what I found that I was doing was I was comparing the two books and how similar they were in like plot and how they were written and things like that. And then I found myself going even a step further and comparing my enjoyment of them. So if I had gone into this video trying to find other favorites based on the titles alone, I would have gone about it completely differently, because I'm gonna try to like pop some sort of graphic up here. If I were to rank all of the pairings from most similar to one another to least similar to one another, it would look something like this. If you look at the title pairing I have for the books that had the least amount of things in common, if we look at the common words between the two titles, it's just I am the. Same with this one. Other words for home and other words for smoke. The words that they have in common are other words for. Those three words are not any indicator to what the book will be about, and thus they're not going to share any common themes or characters or things like that. If we look at the title pairing that I believe has the most in common, Bear Town and Our Town, the same word similarity that they have is the word town. And why I enjoyed Bear Town and why I enjoyed Our Town was very much the setting of this small town, and there was a very small cast of characters. We got a deep dive into their lives. That is all indicated by the title with the word town. So if, for example, I wanted to find a book that I enjoyed for similar reasons that I enjoyed Other Words for Home based on title alone, and what I should have looked for was books that had the word home in the title, because what I loved about Other Words for Home was the main character's journey and acceptance of new places and new people, and her learning that home doesn't always have to be the place that you grew up in. With Children of Blood and Bone and Daughter of Smoke and Bone, the bulk of the similarities that the two stories shared to one another were just based on the fact that they both fell within the same genre, and this title format is popular within that genre. So I could have picked up any YA fantasy that had a similar cadence and format of title to the blank of blank and blank, and probably could have found the same amount of similarities. When I first started filming this, I don't think that I had a clear enough idea of what I was trying to do. Was I expecting to learn anything? No. Did I end up learning anything? Maybe. If you know your reading tastes and preferences well enough, and you can find a keyword or a buzzword in the title, you can perhaps use that key or buzzword in searching for other titles that have that key or buzzword in hopes of finding those similar things you prefer in books. Perfect example was the word town in Bear Town and Our Town. So maybe I should just read a bunch of books that have the word town in the title. You know how Kayla from Books and Lala has done the buzzword readathon, where the whole point of the readathon is just to read books with like a certain word in the title. Maybe I should do one for myself where I just read books with the word town in the title and see if I like them just based on the fact that there's the word town in the title. And I could, in that, read dress codes for small towns, which I know is one of Kayla's all-time favorite books. So maybe this is something that needs to happen. I'm also now just realizing that 2 of the books that I read because of this video had the word smoke in the title, Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and then other words for smoke. And I really quite enjoyed both of those books. But those 2 books have nothing in common. Like, smoke isn't a good enough or strong enough keyword to indicate that I'm going to enjoy that book. Town, I think, is a strong enough keyword to indicate that there may be things in there that I could enjoy because the word town is used in the title. Down below, recommend me all of the books you know that have the word town in the title or smoke in the title. If you stuck around somehow this long, thank you so much. I hope that this was somewhat enjoyable to watch. I think I remember saying at the beginning that someone more intelligent could have conversations about titles of books, and if you have anything to say about titles of books, maybe tell me down below. I don't really think I have anything more to say. I need to get off my bedroom floor and make something of myself with what time I have left in this evening. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're having a great, amazing, and fantastic day, and I will see you later. Goodbye.